Copilot has been infecting all of Microsoft's products for a while now. It started as a way to autocomplete code that was produced by GitHub, and now it's affected Windows directly. The Windows implementations are questionable. I've personally not had enough of a good experience to comment on them meaningfully. They're just not that interesting to me. But Copilot showed up somewhere else that I honestly didn't expect it today. Copilot's now in my CLI, which is not a place I necessarily wanted AI. So I'm initially skeptical going in. But the last time I really doubted Copilot when it was just a code thing, I ended up trying it and was blown away. So let's give this an honest chance, see how we feel about it, and maybe I'll end up liking Copilot in the CLI, but we can't know until we try it. So I'll start with their announcement video, take a look at what they're doing, and see where we end up.
GitHub Copilot in the CLI is now generally available. You can ask Copilot in the CLI to provide either terminal command suggestions or explain commands that you're unfamiliar with. To get started, you must have a GitHub Copilot subscription and the GitHub CLI install. You can install the GitHub CLI with your preferred package manager and can find detailed installation.
Fun fact, the only video I've unlisted in the past couple months was my video about how miserable the GitHub CLI is because people just didn't seem to get it. The CLI, it's just so bad. And everybody was saying that I was being stupid and overreacting, even though I detailed like point for point just how bad the UX is for it. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the GitHub CLI. It's better than nothing, but it's not great either. And now that it's getting more bloated and full of AI stuff, I'm sure the CLI's UX is going to get way better by adding AI to it and requiring you to be on a network to use it. There's no way that's going to go wrong.
And can find detailed installation instructions in this repository. Since I'm using macOS, I'll use Homebrew for the installation.
This is both slightly better and significantly worse, that you have to install an extension. The GitHub CLI didn't have extensions before, right? They're adding that just for this, right? Because I can't imagine otherwise. And yes, her voice does sound AI generated. And yes, it is funny that the Microsoft-owned GitHub is using macOS for their example. But apparently it had extensions before. Cool. Never seen a GitHub CLI extension in my fucking life. So at least they didn't invent it for this.
Extension install github/gh-copilot. This will give you access to Copilot in the CLI. I can check if the extension is installed.
She doesn't sound that AI generated, guys. She sounds totally fine. Y'all are overreacting.
By running gh extension list. And there we have it. Let's run gh copilot --help to see what we can do with GitHub Copilot in the CLI. Here we have some examples, available commands, flags, and how to get help. We'll see that gh copilot explain explains a command, and gh copilot suggests a command. We also have gh copilot config and gh copilot alias to generate shell-specific aliases. One of the most requested features from the public beta release was aliases.
I will say the explain is much more interesting than the suggest to me, but I'm curious where we end up with this. So keep watching, and then I have to play. I'm going to throw them straight into hard mode and see how it deals with FFmpeg. So if this is boring you, just skip that point in the video, whatever.
Configure our aliases before going any further. In your terminal, run gh copilot alias --help. And you'll see an output with helper aliases for Bash, PowerShell, and CSH. Copy the command you need based on your shell type. I'm using CSH, so I'll copy this line here, paste it in your terminal, and source it. If I run ghce, I'll be prompted for a command I want to be explained. I can run ghce, paste the command I want to be explained, and GitHub Copilot will tell me exactly what the command means. It also breaks the explanation into chunks, so it's easier for me to read and understand. I can run ghce --help to get more information on how to use the explain command and see some examples right in my terminal.
Okay, I need to see how suggest works before we go.
If I wanted a suggestion, I can run ghcs, type what I'm trying to accomplish, and provide it with a suggestion right here. I can select the copy command option, which exits the flow automatically, paste, and then run the suggested command.
That's like 5 more steps than it should be. Pretty hilarious. So I pointed out they didn't cut the timing from Oh My Z Shell, which is hilarious. So apparently that took 22 seconds to run.
And provide it with a suggestion right here. I can select the copy command option, which exits the flow automatically, paste, and then run the suggested command. I can also run ghcs --help to view usage information, available flags, and a few examples. If I want to view the status of my PRs in the terminal, I can ask Copilot in the CLI for GitHub CLI commands. I can run
Is this their solution to their UX problem? Is this the direction they're going in because the GitHub CLI is full of so many unnecessary steps? They're going to have an AI do it for us? Because if so, this makes a lot of sense. It's utter chaos, and I would never do this, but it makes a lot of sense that like instead of changing the 17 unnecessary steps into 2 obvious ones for pushing a repo up to GitHub, they're going to make an AI do it for me. I have so many things I want to test. I normally play through the whole video, but this one's short and you can go check it out. It'll be in the description. I just want to play. So we're going to start playing. You have to authenticate first. Cool. Well, do that. If you guys couldn't have guessed, the last thing I did on this computer, it was my last video I filmed in my terminal because I haven't had a break. GitHub auth login. Oh, I love this, that you have to do the --web-h GitHub. This is my favorite example of a GitHub CLI-ism in a minute. Like, what happens if I just don't? Why is that so many steps? I'm going to instead use my SSH keys so that y'all don't have any chance of fucking with me. Why is this so many fucking steps? Cool. Grab this. I am very thankful I did that because it doxed my fucking IP address when I did that. Fuck you, GitHub. Do you guys understand how close I was to just doxing my IP address because GitHub doesn't know what UX is? Like, are you kidding? Are you actually kidding? GitHub. This is no longer like, I'm just a grumpy asshole who doesn't like GitHub's UX. This is now you're potentially hurting users. I could have just doxed myself because you don't know what UX is. If you're showing sensitive information, make me click to see it. Don't just pop it up on my screen because I pressed the enter key. Jesus Christ. Now I can install the extension, hopefully without doxing my IP address. Of course, you're making me do a consent waiver while running your CLI. I can't believe they're actually putting me through the, just 21 questions game. Like, how many questions do I have to answer before you can do the thing I just told you to do? Why do I need to go through 15 questions for you to figure out what I'm trying to do? Cool. You show me how to use Git LFS. Nice. Let's make this a bit more fun for you. GitHub Copilot suggests combine 2 video files named 1.mov and 2.mov to a 1080p, we'll just do MP4. No, I'll make this fun. We'll give it to a 1080p VP9 container with a reasonable bit rate for that format and resolution. This is playing both the videos at once. It's not concatenating them. How about you explain this command to me? Because it's not doing what you think it's doing, GitHub. Yep. It just did not understand the instruction at all. What a surprise. I will admit FFmpeg is complicated. It's a thing that I've put a lot of time into in my life. I worked at Twitch, a thing I dealt with a lot. But let's revise. I want the videos to be concatenated, not overlaid on each other. Video 1 should play first. Video 2 should play second. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, this looks like the right command. I should get some random footage to test this with. We'll give it a different resolution to really test it. ffmpeg-i. So right now I'm just taking this file I already have and I'm gonna grab just the first, let's say 4 seconds. At least, I have to 1.mov. I have to put this in front. The order of arguments in ffmpeg is annoying. S0004. No, is it SS? Oh, it's a dash. I always mix up the S and the T arguments because one is the time you start and one is the time you want to go for. And also the order you put them in matters. Well, you know what? I don't feel like looking at the FFmpeg reference. Let's ask GitHub Copilot. Clear GitHub Copilot. Suggest a command that uses FFmpeg to take the first 4 seconds of a video. And we'll start with that. See what it does. Oh, I was right. Cool. I just got the order of arguments wrong the whole time. Maybe this product is valid. 1.mov. And now I have to put the SS in the front for the starting point, and we'll start at 4, and we'll have this go to 8. Is it just dash S? Did I get that wrong again? Oh, it's the dash S has to go before the dash I. I'm stupid. Look, it's been a bit, okay, guys? There we go. And now, if I did this all right, we should have 1.mov, which is the first 4 seconds, and we should have 2.mov, which is the next 4 seconds. And as per always with FFmpeg, it fucked up the container. Oh, I just did T8, so it's time isn't the time stamp it stops at, it's the amount of time until it stops. Ugh. You get used to the FFmpegisms over the time. Cool. So now we actually have 1 and 2. Let's again ask the original thing we asked of getter command, generic shell command, copy to clipboard. Oh, look at that. Invalid arguments. What a surprise. The command doesn't work. Let's try again. Opus mapping family undefined for 12 channels. It's defaulting to libopus. WebM is defaulting to libopus, which I might not even have in my current FFmpeg setup. Let's give it a slightly easier challenge. Due to AV1, I said an easier challenge and I'm giving it a way harder challenge. Still the opus undefined error. Interesting. I'm going to ask for H264 just to confirm. I should say, I won't even say H264. We'll give it even more wiggle room. We'll tell it to just give me a fucking MP4. See how this goes? Copy, paste. Unsupported channel layout. What a surprise. This command doesn't work for fucking shit. I've been trying for a minute now. We'll give it slightly easier instructions. GH, Copilot, suggest an ffmpeg command to concatenate two video files named 1.mov and 2.mov. Oh, I don't want to do this. UX is so bad. And the command's just wrong again. Break it down for me. Explain what you think this complex filter does. Yeah, this is just nonsense. Can I paste the error code and tell it to look back? That's a good question. Let's give that a shot. I get the following error. Oh, output labeled outv does not exist. It's just creating random mappings that aren't real. So part of how ffmpeg works is you create these like virtual tracks with the brackets, and then you map them to and from different things to actually route the audio and video through their weird complex filter graph. It is just not doing it. It's just making up things here. What a surprise. Since Copilot failed, I know it is GPT-4 based, but I am curious if I can get ChatGPT to give me a better answer, so we're going to ask. I know this seems insane, but this is actually probably the best answer. The easiest way for reliable concatenation in FFmpeg is to just read a text file that specifies the things you want. I will say, why the fuck is Arduino called out there? This is still far from perfect, but at the very least, this is correct. So if I copy this code and we'll touch, what do we want to call this? Input.txt, C input.txt, paste, save, close, hop back over here. Oh, it's named list.txt there. Cool. We'll change that to input.txt. And it worked immediately. And that was to, what was the name of the file? Output.mov. Cool. So if we go to output.mov, this should be a seamless first 8 seconds of Big Buck Bunny. And look at that. It's a seamless 8 seconds of Big Buck Bunny. How hard was that, GitHub CLI? I know I put it in hard mode, but the fuck? That's so bad. And it even comes here with the breakdown, and it's actually good. -f concat tells ffmpeg to use the concat demuxer. This is how ffmpeg concatenates things. When they demux the files, just turning the crazy compressed file to something that's not, they open it up and attach them together with a concat filter. -safe0 allows ffmpeg to read input files with absolute paths or special characters. It's generally safe if you're in control of the content of the list.txt file. Also a really good callout, because if you're just taking in text files from random sources that users created, you wouldn't want to let just anything through. So it's important to have flags so the defaults don't risk something crazy happening on your machine. -ilist is just telling it which file to get the content from. -ccopy is an important flag that I did not see anywhere in any of the things that the GitHub thing generated. This is to copy the codecs, because the audio and the video codecs need to work and need to be specified. But if you have video files already in your input.txt, you can copy those over, which is nice. This is also a good point. Make sure all the video files you wish you can concatenate have the same codecs and formats for the method to work properly. Important point. Since the GitHub Copilot just outright failed to generate anything resembling a reasonable command here, I'm going to flip this the other way quick. And we're going to GH Copilot explain this command. Cool. Mostly accurate. That's fine. It's not as detailed as I would like, but it's correct. It's cool they know what ffmpeg is, and then they correctly described most of these steps. Can you give an example of a complex ffmpeg command and break it down for me? Let's give it hard mode. Someone also said that I should ask them to give me a single command. Honestly, the single command that makes the most sense for this is to not use the complex filters and to just like cat in your files as input. What the fuck is Unix philosophy? Somebody asks. That's a long story. This is a fun one. We're setting scale. We're also applying an overlay where we have something that is width minus 10 is going to narrow it in. So it's like a frame around it by the sounds of it. Let's see. Yeah, it displays an overlay. In this context, typically a watermark image you need to specify separately on the video. The overlay image should be specified before the command using another input flag. But for simplicity, it's not shown here. W and H refer to the width and height of the main video, and the lowercase refer to the width and height of the overlay image. There's so many of these little things that make ffmpeg really hard to work with, where like knowing that the uppercase and the lowercase have specific behaviors depending on like order of things that you're appending and applying to this. It is a little weird that they're doing this overlay, but they're not actually putting an input to use the overlay. So this is actually doing nothing. This command includes an overlay filter that is unused as only one asset is pulled in. Can you add an example asset to use that filter? Now I got a fun one. Let's try this. I need a good random picture. We'll go to my favorite, image.t3.gg, grab a random picture of myself to use. Sadly, this just puts it in the clipboard, and the fastest way for me to turn that into a real file is to just open Affinity, save this as example.png, yoink from my downloads. Yes, I literally use my downloads folder for everything. Do not judge me. I am lazy and it makes me much more efficient. Yoink. More input link label specified for filter scale than it has inputs. 2 is greater than 1. Yep, good catch, FFmpeg. I will say FFmpeg's errors are phenomenal, but it's not the easiest thing to parse and understand. More input links labeled for specified for filter scale than it has inputs. 2 is greater than 1. You know what? We'll ask Copilot. I got the following error trying to run the command. Copy that again. One last try. Output.mov example.png. No. Unsupported channel layout, 6 channels. Are they just applying a shitload of channels for no reason here? They're not. This is a pretty boring command. I actually don't know what's going on here. I did not think this video is going to be me debugging weird FFmpeg shit. Oh, I have to specify a copy for the first argument. God damn it, FFmpeg sucks. How do I copy codecs from the first input? That won't work because it can't copy if it doesn't know which of the inputs to use. No, it's wrong. It seems like FFmpeg is a great thing to invest your time in if you don't want AI to take your job, because seems like AI really sucks at FFmpeg. This is embarrassing. This is hilarious, but this is embarrassing. The full FFmpeg manual is 500 pages. Also true, fair, and painful. That said, this command not working does not necessarily mean the command is wrong. And I think it would be fun to ask our friend Github Copilot CLI to explain it. Oh, the quotes are going to break it. That's great. This is a really good idea for an interface where you have to wrap the command in quotes when your command probably has quotes. The UX here is astounding. I also like that even though we just use the explain command, we can't ask it to make changes. Just like an obvious UX one of, what if I wanted to ask it to modify this command to not have audio? It only does that if you are using it as a starting point. The UX here is not good, and the results are somehow even worse. This is embarrassing. Adjust the following command to not include audio in the file that is output. Cool. It knows about AN. I wasn't sure if it would be smart enough to do that because it's been very bad about the arguments around codec selection. Cool. When we drop audio, it works. And the output file here doesn't have what I added to it. I very clearly specified example PNG and where to put it, and it didn't do it. Might actually be better to trim the asset or do something that has a background color so we know if it's working. We'll just give this a black background. It'll make it slightly easier to debug. I just want one command to work. Okay, that worked. Cool. So just because it's not rescaling the image, which I guess makes sense. It's really stupid, but I guess it makes sense. Yeah, we're not scaling 1V. We're only overlaying it. Adjust this command so the overlaid image is resized to be no larger than 50 pixels wide and tall. Once again, I'm stupid and forgot to change the input names. Fingers crossed. Look, I'm in the corner. It worked. Ta-da. That was obnoxious. And there's literally no world in which the CLI would have done that. There's just none. I could sit here and try, and at the very least, it can explain. So Copilot, explain. Oh, I can't just do that because the UX of pasting something that might have a new line in the terminal is literally so atrocious that doing this sucks. And since I didn't put quotes around it, that didn't work either. And since I have quotes in this, I specifically have to wrap it with a different type of quote or escape everything in it. Individual quotes. Oh, there's individual quotes in it too, so that didn't work either. GH Copilot, explain. Nope. Clear. GH Copilot, explain. Let it go here so I can paste it there instead. Are you fucking kidding? Yes, this is just how CLI args work. The point is that the CLI is the wrong place to have an AI analyze your CLI commands, because passing a CLI command to a CLI command in such a way that it doesn't break the strings and also doesn't run is not viable. The UX here sucks and it can't be good. I cannot possibly believe there's a way for this to be good. Somebody pointed this out in chat, and I think it's really important. Part of why this UX sucks, and like, yes, it's just how terminals work, is that the point of this tool, I think is fair to assume, is to help new programmers learn how to do things. So crazy theoretical possibility here. What if someone's asking for help with, I don't know, making their project run on their computer, and somebody makes a funny suggestion of like, what's the fork bomb command? Okay, ChatGPT won't even show me a fork bomb. So let's say, theoretically, you have some issue with your project and you just innocently ask on Twitter or GitHub or some Discord channel, hey guys, I need help with my project. It's not running. And somebody says, oh, I know that problem. Run this command. And they just send you this command, this very innocent looking command. You don't know what it does. So rather than just run it, you decide, hey, maybe I should ask the GitHub Copilot to explain this for me. And you happen to forget to put quotes around it. Now you're running code that you do not want to run that has the risk of locking or destroying your machine. This is a disaster waiting to happen. There are going to be people who accidentally run commands that they should not run because of this. And that is embarrassing, and they should feel bad. If I wrap it in quotes, I'm curious to see if it's smart enough to even know what a fork bomb is. Case in point, this tool is useless. I actually don't see what this is good for versus just using ChatGPT. And if you're wondering what a fork bomb is, it's a DOS attack that when you run, it recursively calls shit until your system runs out of resources. Hope this makes the point. Yeah, I just don't get this one. So what we're going to do to wrap this up is ask it the most obvious thing. At least I got that one. I think that's all I have to say about the GitHub CLI. I can say pretty much 100% confidently I will not be using this. I will give it an honest shot in the future if I have a command I don't understand, because it's 2 steps less than opening up my browser and asking ChatGPT instead. But I think this is GitHub trying to show off Copilot, not an actual usable thing. And that sucks, because I feel like there hasn't been a useful update to Copilot since the original version shipped. And honestly, nowadays, I'm just using Super Maven. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you see some way that this could be useful? Because I'm genuinely struggling to at this point in time. And until next time, peace, nerds.